This conference will now be recorded.
So that said, Daniel, I think there may be some things, once we get through today and we kind of identify what else needs to be done. But I see all of us are on. That's fantastic. Robert, Victor, Sarita, Daniel, great. So good morning to everybody else. And yeah, anybody want to just report in with what you did, what you learned, and where we are right now before we kind of plunge into the kind of together. Why don't we just go around the room? I'll start. I actually started the data import. I want to show you how I did that. It took me a while to figure it out, but so the data is being imported as we speak. I've got all the accounts in, and the contact information is being uploaded now. It takes a while to propagate, but it should be in pretty soon. So that's my report. Anybody else?
Hi, John. This is Sarita.
Hi, Sarita.
Hi. From the portion I did last night, I just added those two attributes to the employer record under the accounts employers. And you asked for the yes, no fields to be added. And I added that also.
Fantastic.
I've also placed two screenshots of it on the Salesforce chat room. So anyone can view and they can see the changes I've made.
Excellent. That's great. Yeah, thanks. So it's in the learning community then, the screenshots of what you did?
Yes, it's in the learning community, correct.
Okay, fantastic. I have, let's see if this imported. So we now have a all of the, okay, yeah, we're still only at 8 contacts, but I'll just show you real quickly here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Yeah, so you see now that we've got all of these contacts in here now. So the form that you updated will be, well, here, we'll just take a look at one of them here. Right, so we've got the form here, and you get the timeline here. That's great. We got related contacts aren't in here yet because they're still uploading. And we have, like, all of these are working. I think there's going to be, well, let me just say, yeah, on this, Sarita, if you can, maybe while we're working on this, you'll need to add the job title to these job applications.
Okay.
Because this is the, right? So this is the account, and you want to make sure to have, and I would say, so you don't really need the employer because it's obviously related to this employer by definition, right? So you can get rid of this column, and then I would put the job title. I would put on this, let me just close this. I would put, yeah, the job title, the name of the veteran or the applicant, if you want to maybe say it a little bit, more to correspond to the context. And then you could say created on or applied on. And remember, we said that those are two different things. This refers to the record that was created on whatever day. You don't necessarily need that. I think what you'd rather have is the date of application, the status, and the status date, and to bring those over from the application.
Right? Okay, you said the date of application, the status, and what was the last one?
The date of the status change. If you can pull those in, those should be, I guess, lookups or related. Yeah, those are related fields to the application, right? So it doesn't really matter when this records, because this really refers to when the record was created. For this particular view, it's really not important. What's important is when which job, which veterans applied to and when, and what's the status. That would be really nice. I mean, it's going to be a while before we can really populate those, but I think if we can have those columns, that will be really great.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
and just if you can work on it while we're working, if that works for you, then great. We can kind of review it when you're done. But otherwise, it looks pretty good. We've got the obviously job postings. Again, you don't really need the employer because you don't need that column in this view. So job title, yeah, and then jobs available. I think, and this is a Victor thing. Remember we said that this is ambiguous. What does that really mean? It should mean the number of jobs, right? So I'm jumping over now to job postings, right? So I think, or maybe Sarita, maybe that's a column heading that you're pulling in from job postings. But if it is, this heading should be changed in the job postings entity.
Yes, what's it? It's quantity or something like that, right?
Well, remember, we said go back to, I'm going to pull this thing in here from the old thing. All right, so we have employers, we got, all right, yeah, I pulled in this stuff. Okay, well, yeah, so this pulled in, let me just do this real quick. Sample, where's sample? Oh, I know, okay, bear with me. So I'm going to click on the S here so that I just show the accounts with S. So remember, we go to sample co, we go to job orders, we go to business and okay, openings. I think, okay, right? So
yeah.
So openings and then right. So let's just use that consistently for, we could say number of openings, but you can always, and one of the things too is you see how there's when you hover over it, you've got this little help text. I think you can change, I'm pretty sure you can change that. And you can basically have that be the help text, something like number of openings for this job. But it should be obviously, it should be self-explanatory because it's a number and it's, okay.
Yeah, John, let me ask you, in the other, so I'm wondering if the view is shared in other places, should we make additional custom views or just have employer, even if it's not needed in one particular view when it's shared? What's the, or in other words, should we do the extra work of creating additional views from when you look at it where you don't need employer versus when you do need employer having more views? Because a lot of those
I see
views,
what you're saying.
I think those views, in other words, I think you could do it either way. Just wondering.
Well, here's the thing. This view here relates to, right? You're in the account view, the employer view, right? So this is sample co. This is everything that relates to sample co, right? So you're changing the view only for this tab that relates, right? It's a tab that's related already to the employer. So why repeat the name of the employer? Oh. Hang on a second. Why repeat the name of the employer if it's a given that it's here? Is that what you meant?
No, well, what I meant was, I think it's a subgrid, and the subgrid is probably based on a view. And what I'm saying is, do you want us to take the time to create a custom view when there's views that already exist?
No. You can go directly into this subgrid, and you can just simply remove this column, That's all you got to do.
Okay. That's
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused how they're created. So in other
Yeah.
words,
No. Yeah, my
yeah.
understanding is that certainly you can create a view that then you can define as the list or the view that gets that gets put into the subgrid. But what I would do is simply say, well, look, this is kind of a custom view that is created so that it, in order to be part of this employer view. So what you want, the key things you want here, obviously, you want the job title, you want the number of, well, the date posted, the number of openings, job status is real important, employer contact perhaps, or here you just put contact, right? Because obviously all of these people are part of this employer. So it would be, I would say maybe hiring contact, right? Change that to hiring contact. Okay.
Got it. Yeah, those are all
job order, and then job order. And again, I realize this is the other one, but I would get rid of job order because I think that's the same as job title, right? Because this is the job order entity, but we're using job title to define basically that is the job, if you will.
got it. In other words, rather than it's just pulling a custom view from the view. Got it.
Right. Yeah.
So Sarita, Sarita, you want Sarita to do job applications, and then I'll do job. Well, they're both on the same form. I guess they're both on the contacts form.
Well, you've got, so Sarita's got accounts now, but accounts. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sarita. That actually would be for you because that is it's a tab or a subgrid on the account form.
Okay.
So, sorry. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but you get that right. Now,
Yeah.
Now Victor, of course, is going to be doing everything necessary with the job orders and the applications that will allow you then to use that information in the account entity.
And you'll have to make I think you might have, I can't recall if you have to make any, so they probably exist already, like data applied should exist already, Sarita.
So one of the things, speaking of views, by the way, so I created a view, and it's probably a temporary view, but basically, and maybe now's a good time to talk about the data because it's still uploading. But basically, let me show you what I started. Okay, so I have a spreadsheet, right? And it is, I'll show you well, you've seen it. You've seen the spreadsheet for the, I'm just going to pull it over real quick so you can see it because there's some things I want to say about it. Now, this is what Robert provided. No, not Robert, I'm sorry, Dan provided us. Right, so you recognize this, hopefully. And then what I did is I kind of normalized all the data and I said, okay, we're going to sort of say, right, we've got these fields that need to be mapped and then the information input. Now, does anybody want to hazard a guess about how this needs to be imported into the database? Any general ideas? Okay, so what's one thing that you notice here, right? So you have information here that well, let me ask you something. Is this information all imported into a single entity? Can it all be?
I don't think it is. I noticed that some of the titles are not the same. Well, I haven't, like hiring portal user, I don't think I've seen that in the account, but I know they do have to match
Yes.
what we have.
Now, actually, it is in there. I think I may have. Yeah, I think I added it actually just this morning because I had to. I mean, it
Yes.
wasn't there. Now, in fairness, this was on this sheet. The hiring portal user is assumed to be associated with a contact. But really, when you think about it, well, let me just put it this way: the individual, it is the individual. So, and in the contact form, and I think Robert, you probably did this, but yeah, there is there's a hiring portal user in the contact form and in the account form. So why did I add one into the account form? Well, it was because I'm not real sure if it should be associated with an individual or with an account. So just to cover my bases, I just said, okay, when I import the data, I'm going to import the values in this field, both for the contact record and for the account record or account entity. Does that make sense? So we can deal with it later. After it's in the database, it's going to be pretty easy. It doesn't, you can always decide later, but now you've got the data in there and you can basically say, okay, that hiring portal usage is either associated with an account or with a contact, doesn't really matter, or, whatever, right? But it was ambiguous. So I just said, okay, let's just create fields in both the account and the contact entities to basically accept this value and record the value. Now, so let me ask you this. So is this really an account entity or a contact entity? In other words, do we import this information? Which entity do we import it into?
Yes.
What's that?
You've got. I said yes. Is it an account or is it a contact? And I said yes because you've got both. You've got the organization as the account, and you've got the names as the contact names. So
Yes.
Well,
I would think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Robert.
I have a question. You can finish your thought if you want. I just have a question about kind of how the data is going to get mapped.
Well, that's so. My question is, when you unique the organization, instead of having 10th magnitudes and 5 Accenture Federals, when you unique that, because you only want to bring in one of those records into the account, what I don't know is how you're then going to map the ID or the key from the organization to the key for the contact, so that you make sure that each name from Accenture in the contacts entity lines up with the correct names in the account entity.
Yeah, you're getting close. Okay, so here's what, and look, this took me a couple hours, more than a couple of hours just to figure this thing out. But here's what I found out was the best way to do it. So speaking of the mapping, so the first thing I did is I created a new view, right? A view that corresponds exactly to the fields that are already in, that are here, right? So it's just right across the board, right? And I just created a view. And then I said, okay, I created the view and then I said, simply export this to Excel. So I'm going to do that right now. It's pretty slick. It's really cool. So you export it to Excel, so you know that the data you're getting is already compatible with this database. And here's what you get, right? So you get you get everything with the actual field names here, right across the board. And full name is something that's not, that's not in the in the data that Dan gave us. We don't need it because it's created from first name and last name. So for whatever reason, it exported this. You can either get rid of it and then middle name too. So those are two columns you don't need, but you simply don't map them, right? So if we go back, so you see that MSSA touchpoint is not in here because the data that we have in the database currently doesn't have this information, right? But it's got these test things. And so if we just change one thing, let's just say, let's just make this a yes. I think this is a, yeah. We'll just oh, okay. That's weird.
Click the yellow bar, enable editing.
Oh, right. Thank you. See, it really does take a village, doesn't it? Okay. Oops. Yeah. So I'm going to click on this and say yes, and maybe a no here. Okay. I'm just changing a couple of little things. Now I'm going to save it. Okay. Now, and maybe I'll just add something. Let me just add something here just for fun. So I'm going to copy this and then add it just to kind of show you how this, you can't paste this here because the copy area.
You have to select the entire row, click on the 10.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go. C, and then, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to do like, okay, so this is Robert Farrell, let's just say, and then engineer. We don't need the full name, and so right. So we've just added another contact just to test to see if it'll accept the import. So now what we do is we save it. We basically save the thing. Right. So we've used the template, the very template that was used to export the actual data. So in theory, we've got everything, the data is clean, right? I mean, because that's how we got it. So if we simply add stuff to that in the same format, then we're pretty sure that it's going to accept it. Now what you do is you go to import, right? You just, on the three dots here, you just go to import from Excel. And then you choose the file. I didn't rename it, but you can see that I renamed the other ones, right, that I actually used. All right.
Do you want to delete the existing ones, John, or you want to have duplicates of all of them?
No. Here's what I want to show you is basically.
Oh, but you're not going to do it. Yep, got it.
I'm not, right. I'm not going to do it. And I was wondering about that because Salesforce uses a unique ID. Now it says, okay, so review mapping. All right, so it says, okay, the last name is going to be imported to the last name field in the contact entity, right? So full name is not mapped, of course. Employer is a lookup here, which is really good. So what you're going to see is we got a new Tesco person, and we have some updates to existing fields. Now, you might think, oh gosh, you're going to create duplicates. But one way or the other, because you've got the key, right, you've got basically keys that will ensure that you don't create duplicates. It's a little bit different than the way Salesforce does, which it gives this huge alphanumeric, unique identifier for each record. So we're just going to finish the import, and it asks you, do you want to ignore unmapped fields? Yeah, I just ignore it. So now the data has been submitted for import. It takes a while for it to come through. Usually when it's a small little thing like this, it is pretty quick. But you notice that the 800 contacts that I've imported are still importing. Now here's Tesco, right? So remember we added Robert to Tesco. Let's see if he was added yet. Not yet, right? So, which is not surprising. I mean, we have, like I say, there's still a big import going on. But here's the cool thing that, or the thing that I finally, I was kind of struggling with it and thinking, okay, how do you import? So the first thing I tried, I said, okay, import. I just took a little subset of this. I said, okay, import the contacts, and and make sure include contacts that belong, multiple contacts that belong to the same account, right? So you got Accenture here, you got 4. I tried to import them, and it created a separate record for each of the accounts. Now, why would that be? If it was supposed to be a lookup, why would that be? Okay, essentially it has nothing to look up to. There hasn't been yet created an account record that this list of data that each of these contacts can look up to, right? Even though, because you're bringing this information in, but you're not, you have to have created that that account record before you can ask the contact record to look up the existing account. Does that make sense? So this is
sorry, I have a question. Will the form populate the, I guess organization was mapped to employer field. So will the form populate an employer even if it doesn't have an account?
Oh yeah. Well, the account is the employer, right? I mean, we call it employer because it's because of the context. That's all. But it's an organization, it's an account, it's a company, it's an employer. Doesn't matter. It's really the organization. So,
but on the form, it's basically the organization column will show up in Dynamics under the employer column in a view.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. Yeah. So what I did is I said, oh, well, these are 2 entities, and one of them has to serve as the lookup for the other. So I said, okay, what happens if I take just the accounts, just the information that pertains to accounts, and first create an account entity, right? So this is where I've got everything listed, just the accounts, right? So notice I've got MSSA employer as one of the account records, or the, I should say, account fields, right? Which is, but really, you could, wait, enable editing. How come? All right, yeah, I'll enable editing. So it looks like, is there another column? No, I guess not. Okay. So I just took these columns from the master import sheet, and I said, what'll happen? What happens if I just say, okay, I'm going to import this data into the account entity to create these, right? So, and my question was, is it going to create, 10 BAE systems records, or is it just going to create 1? I mean, I didn't know. So, so basically, let's see, where are we here? Yeah, so this is Sandbox, yeah. So we go to accounts, and lo and behold, remember we had, I think, Accenture, where's Accenture? Oh yeah, okay. Accenture and Accenture Federal is only one of each. Hallelujah, right? So we just have this one Accenture Federal, and then there's no employers associated with them yet. But now, when you import the contact information, the account field or the employer field, organization field, whatever, is a lookup. So when that information gets imported, it's going to look for an existing record with that name, right? If it doesn't find it, it'll probably just, it won't relate it, it won't associate it to that because there's no existing record. So that's why I suspect that this propagation has taken so long, because it's got to go through this 830 contacts that each have to look for their parent and populate that field with it. Right? They got to do that lookup. So it's somewhere in the background that's happening. Does that make sense? I mean, that's kind of what I'm suspecting is going on. But the key here is that you have to do 2 imports. And the first import you have to do, in this case, is for accounts, because you have to create those accounts in the first place.
Okay, so if you just imported the contacts, it wouldn't create an account for all the items in the organization column.
Right, and that's exactly what, when I did that, it did not create the accounts, and it wasn't smart that way. It didn't say, oh, this is a unique account name, so I'm just going to go ahead and create an account, and then subsequent contacts with the same account, I'll just go ahead and associate them to this. It didn't do that. So it's funny because I think John, I'm not sure if John thought that or not, but I asked him about it, and it was kind of vague. But hopefully that's helpful to you in terms of uploading. And it just took a lot of time to there were a lot of errors and stuff, and that's when I just figured, oh, well, let's export what we have, and then we'll have hopefully the structure that the system will accept for new data, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I messed around with the import export thing, and it was a struggle, but that makes sense. Create the view, export it as sort of like a template, but don't use the actual template function. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess the key takeaway though would be any fields that you have linked as a lookup with other entities, you import kind of those entities, even if it's just the only information is that linked field. So that's good to know for sure.
Yeah. So, and that's good, because then, you've got, if you have new people coming in now, if you have a database, for example, and it has Accenture and Accenture Federal, it's going to do a lookup, and it's going to make a match based on an exact match. Anything, if it's Accenture, with a 1 after it obviously it's not going to create a new account. It's just going to be a kind of an orphan field out there without a link.
John, was there not a way to, in that custom view that you made, instead of using the lookup for the employer, was there not a way to use the actual field from the accounts entity, or can you not make a view that spans multiple entities?
Not sure I get what you're asking.
So the view that you made in the sandbox looks like it's only from the contacts entity.
Let me just get rid of this. Okay, the view, yeah. So I actually did an account one too, and so here MSSA import for accounts, and really there's just 3 fields. I put main phone in here, but there's really none of these had a phone number in there. But I just figured that is going to be a field. It should be a field in the it is in the account, right? Because you want to, I don't know, you want to have that there. Maybe not. But you see, this only really 2 fields, and they're the same fields that I just showed you that needed to be imported. So what I did is create this, and then I exported it.
Yep.
Right, and then I just added the records or the data that needed to be imported, and then I just imported it, and voila.
What I'm asking is if you could create a view that consists of these two fields, MSSA employer and account name, that come directly from the accounts entity, and combine it with the view that you have from the contacts entity.
Yes, exactly. Right. I created these views specifically for the import, right? Just MSSA import accounts. In fact, I would probably just go and just delete this view because I don't really need it anymore.
So instead of then having the lookup field for the contacts where it's not pulling in the account, if it had the original account name from the accounts, in other words, if you could have a view, the view that you created, if it could span contacts and accounts, you would overlook using the lookup field.
That's right.
For the employer, and in which case you wouldn't have to do two imports. Is what I'm.
Well, yeah, but you have to do two imports because you have to, if you want a lookup on the account, on the contact record to the account, obviously you have to have an existing account to look up to.
But if it's got the original account entity in with the contact entity, it would know where it goes, I'm thinking.
Yeah, but only, well, see what it does is it basically imports, let me just go to this view in contacts. So this is a custom view, and you've got the employer, organization, what have you. Now, so each of these gets imported, and it's going to look within the database to see if in fact there is an existing record with this name that it can relate to. If there isn't one, then it's just going to be, it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to click on it, for one thing, right? So it's not going to have a related account. Does that make sense? So you could import it, but it wouldn't relate to an account. And that would defeat the purpose of this whole thing, which is to say, gosh, you've got, like Accenture with 10 contacts, you definitely want to have that. So
this employer field here, though, is the lookup field, right?
Yes.
So
this is an account record. These are account records, and this is the lookup field in the contact record. So if we go right, we can just click on. Let's just go to John Smith. So I double click on John Smith to go to the record, and then the employer. This is the lookup field within the contact record that lets you go now to that other entity, the account.
I follow, John. Can you go back to the view that you made here under the contacts?
Yeah. So contacts, and then so this is just a.
So what I'm just trying to ask is the employer column here, the employer column that comes from the lookup in the contacts entity. Can that column be the actual employer that exists in the account entity?
No, because again, that's a different entity. This view.
Yeah, so you cannot create a view that connects more than one entity. It has to come only from. In other words, it's always a flat file, a list from within that entity. It cannot join a field from another entity.
That I don't think so, right? Because this is contact. This is an entity, one entity, contacts. Now it joins to the other entity accounts through these lookup fields. But these are still fields within the contact entity. Okay. Is that, I know it can be a little bit confusing, but
it is confusing, and I'm trying to remember now. Robert, do you remember if when we create a form under the contacts entity, are we able to pull in related fields from other entities because the relationship exists?
Yeah, following your question, I don't have a definitive answer, although just kind of racking my brain here, trying to recall when I was creating views, there's a drop-down menu, and it seems to be a fair amount of options. But I can't recall if those were all just related to whatever, if all those options were just what's on the related entities, or if it actually included kind of all existing entities in the solution.
That are related through the one-to-many to one relationships. John, I don't need to belabor this point, and for the rest of the group, I don't want to delay us. It was just a kind of a learning thing to see if your import view could have been manipulated to span more than one entity, and then if the environment might be smart enough then to pull the entire file in and do what it needs to do. It's just a
You know what? Actually, Victor, I think dashboards can be used to do something like that. Now that I think of it, instead of a view like, yeah,
dashboard go across all entities possibly.
So here's the information. There's some information on import data that I had actually referred to, and there looks like, right, you got to prepare your file, blah blah blah, and it looks like, you know, if it's possible, it sort of intimates that perhaps it's possible. It would be really slick if it were, but you know, we're dealing initially Excel as a flat table, and so, or flat file, and so are the entities. Really, they're just flat files, and that's where the SQL and the RDBMS stuff comes into play. But I think, and again, if you just go through this, you might be able to find the answer. But I think for right now, and that's definitely above my pay grade. But it would be really slick if you could do that. I just don't know how you would do it. And you know, it's a good topic for discussion. But I think for today, I think what we need to do is just really kind of focus on getting this instance really up and working. So if you guys don't mind, so we should have the data in here, right? And let's look at one that is maybe a good example. So just want to make sure that that we've got the account stuff. We've got the timeline, we've got the name, and maybe yeah, okay, industry, number of employees, phone. Yeah, the phone would be really the main phone, I guess. Who uses faxes anymore? I don't know anybody who uses faxes, but
that's all right.
You know, and website, good. Primary contact, fantastic. Now this is a lookup. Oh, okay. So, Sarita, this should be a lookup field here.
Okay.
Okay.
I can change it to a lookup field.
Okay, perfect. And you know, obviously that contact is going to be on this list, but yeah. So, and then approved MS veteran employer. I think we want to we want to change the label on that, but let's see. So yeah, that's good. And then have veteran hiring program. Yes, no. There is one other field that we need to have on here. Let me go back to the data. And you might want to see, since these are really short, you might want to make these like, you know, this section here, maybe 2 columns, and then split these out into columns. But let's look at the labels for these, because you want to be really spare. We've got just a very, very small team of people using these things, so they don't really need a lot of. I think the leaner the better in terms of in terms of labels, but so approved veteran employer. I'm trying to find, bear with me here, trying to find the wording that we actually have here. Okay, I'm going to pull
Well, I
this
went with the
back.
wording that John Cassar gave us when he was describing or going through the configuration sheet. So
Okay.
that's the names I have, or the exact names he gave us.
Okay. Yeah, John is, you know, as I said yesterday, yeah, it's John's not the ultimate arbiter of this. Essentially, in fact, I don't even know what he means by approved employer. I think what he means is are they a hiring portal user? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought also, that's what he's talking about is just to have a
Yeah.
yes or no.
So yeah, exactly. So I would say hiring portal user. I just changed the label to that, and then it'll fit with what Dan and I talked about, what he wants, not what John wants. So it's really what Dan wants, and what he wants is this language, and that'll be great. And then you've got MSSA touchpoint, I think.
Wait, John, before we jump to that field, the hiring portal user field, isn't it for the company contacts? Like, or is it the companies that are using the hiring portal, or is it both?
Well, here's what I did. I made it both. All right. So I created a field in either contacts or accounts that has this. So I included this field in both of the imports.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. Okay. Because it was ambiguous, and I didn't have contact with Dan. It's not a big deal. I mean, you can always just get rid of that field in either of the entities. Doesn't matter, but at least that gives him the option. All right. So the other one is MSSA employer, right? And that I would definitely do. So do they have a veteran hiring program? You know, that's kind of interesting. Okay, I guess, yeah, they had that there, but the other one that you want to add, and I think it's in there as a yes or no. It just needs to appear on the form. Is, are they an MSSA employer? And what that means, right? So if you look at the help text, and you know, if you can figure out a way to do the help text, Sarita, that would be great. So for example, on that, when they hover over it, it'll say, okay, so actually this is my note, but basically it would automatically be yes or no, right? I mean, again, we're not going to accomplish this time, but this is one of the thoughts. Where I got too many things open here. Okay, well, this is yet another one. Okay, let me just, essentially what this means, did they hire a veteran, an MSSA? So I just have the label, I would just use MSSA employer, right? So if they hired at least one veteran out of our program, then the answer is yes. Now, why you'd put no, well, maybe I put that there, I don't know, but it's either going to be, I think a checkbox would be best for something like this. So you can it's either going to be blank or it's going to have a check mark in it.
Okay.
But so the thought I had, if you want to play around with this, great. Just make sure you don't break anything. I don't think you will. But what would be really cool is if you were able to take, actually, I'll use the old one because it's handy. If you were able to take, for example, let's say sample code, right? And so this is Dan's view, and I don't think, yeah. So there's the field doesn't exist. Oh, wait a minute, yeah, maybe it does. Okay, remember we had the employers, we got the job orders. Wouldn't it be cool if in the job order, if any of these job orders, and in one of the applications, which remember we were going to have, I think you had, yes, you do have an applications tab, if hired is a value in any of the related job applications, then it would automatically check that box. Does that make sense? Am I losing you?
Can you explain it again? I didn't catch it.
Yeah, let me see if I can find, I'm going to find your, find the actual, yeah, here we go, okay. So accounts, so we have, let's go to, I'm going to click on sample co again because we got some data in there. So what I'm saying is so the field isn't here yet, but you want to add a field, are they an MSSA employer? Meaning, have they hired one of our graduates, right? And that's pretty important to know. Now, you could have it as it is today and just click on it if they hired somebody, right? But you could also have it be a kind of an automatic, right? So if here's some job applications, and you're gonna, Victor, you're gonna change basically the view here so that we can see the date.
I think Sarita's going to change anything in the account.
Oh, Sarita, that's right. I'm sorry. Yes, Sarita, you're going to change it. So one of the things included in here is status, right? Or the the status. And
I think it's the stage.
Stage. Okay. So anytime that a stage in any of these applications changes to hired, right? It's an algorithm. It's a little routine that you could run. Say if stage equals hired in any of these related records, then the value in MSSA employer will change to yes. It's just
Okay.
I mean, that's just something to play with, but it's I would mainly see it as a kind of a learning, a way to kind of justify some further exploration. It's not a big deal. I mean, leave it the way it is by all means. I mean, make sure and of course add the field and it is in there, by the way. It should be. Well, let's just take a look real quick. We can do this. Well, yeah, just go ahead and add it because I did import the values for the accounts and they should now appear, right? And you can run a list. You can basically now, with that information, you can do a list or a view that says, right? So let's see, I'm going to do this because I think this is going to be kind of cool, or it's instructive. But basically, you create a new view, okay? And you see how I did that? And then you can go, okay, so it's going to be accounts, and you're going to basically select a filter, right? And the filter is going to be MSSA employer, right? Equals yes. Oops. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, equals yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where you have to select yes and then hit the arrow key to bring it over to the other column.
Oh, right. Thank you. Yeah, I told you this is yeah. So I'm gonna save this view as okay. I'm gonna basically save it as MSSA employers, right? So I'm gonna save it and save. Make sure that's saved. Okay, now when I go to active accounts, it should have right there. See, that's MSSA employers. I can click on that and voila, look, there's my list already, right? These are the actual employers and bang, we got that list right now.
Now, is this view only available to you though, John?
Well, well, let's see. It is now. I'd have to be, we're all admins on this, so we could see my views. I don't know how to change this. Well, I should be able to change this. edit the view. Oh, I know. I can go create. I think you go create view, and then you bring up the use save view, right? And then I just go to MSSA employers, and I change the visibility somewhere. Anybody see this?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not seeing this view in my list.
No, you won't, because I only made it like mine, but I think I can, let's see, save, edit property.
Properties? Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't do anything.
I see where you're going though. You can create various views, like universal views, or I guess limited. I need to figure out how to limit it though. It seems like this one's limited to you, but exactly what is creating that limitation is
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm absolutely positive that you can create that I can make it, maybe because I'm the user, and I'm creating it. If you just go into the configurator or whatever it's called, right? This thing here. Now is this the old one or the new one? Oh, MSSV. Okay, yeah. So if you go into here and say, all right, I'm going to go into accounts and views, right? So MSSB, it doesn't show MSSB, but certainly you could create it from here, and then it would be visible to everybody.
Well, yeah, then you have to make sure where those, or like if there's subgrids or wherever it's being used, you have to make sure that you have to turn on, you have to make sure you configure it to turn on the view. But yeah, then it would be available to those wherever we made sure that we allow it to be used.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you're not going to be using the subgrid, like I said, on the employer subgrids. All you're really doing is just taking the employer field out of there, because obviously anything that you're looking at in the account record is going to relate to that account, so you don't really need it, and that's really just cleaning it up is all. But right, so you know how that works, right? Just that you can basically go, well, let's use job applications. You can basically go and say related, okay, job applications employer, yeah, and then active job applications, and I think the name of the person is being brought in. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. Okay. Well, there's all kinds of.
The default view. The default view is that if you wanted a particular different view,
Oh, right.
Select
Okay.
the default view.
Yeah. Active job okay. Inactive, active job applications. Yeah. I think that's what you want. Well, that's the default view is the right one. Anyway, I kind of forgot where I was going with this, but yeah.
You're going to show us the renaming or the changing of the fields within the view, or is that just that too obvious?
Well, I don't know. Is that something you wanted to?
While you're there.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You can. I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. You can. Yeah. Forgive me. So it's sort of like, I think it's in where you edit. So this is where you edit the view within the drop down. Basically the related list, and so you can do that right here, right? Yeah. So just so that right, we want to get rid of employer. And I know Sarita's, maybe she's in the process of doing that now, but since we have all of you on here, you just simply remove it and boom, right? Now you've got the veteran, you've got the created by, but you also, so Sarita, I don't mean to step on your toes here, but I think since we're at this, we may as well do this. We're gonna basically
that's fine with me. I'm good with that.
All right, good. Yeah, so job posting lookup, I think, So it should be job posting and not job posting lookup. It just should be job posting.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
we could, we'll have to, that was, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to say.
You could rename it. I think if you double click it there, John, please double click that. I'm hoping you could rename it right there. Well, you can't. Okay.
No.
No worries. Okay.
I would just, in fact, I would just call it job, right? Because again, it's context, right? This is a related list underneath the account. So all you want to, or posting, just posting, not job, not lookup, just posting, I think, or you know, the least amount of information.
The trick there is that when you rename the field, it spans everything, and in some places it might be nice to, well, in any case, yeah. You want me to rename that to just posting, and then it'll reflect, I think, everywhere, unless we custom named it somewhere else.
Well, job posting is yeah, you don't, it's by definition a lookup. You don't really you don't want to include lookup because it's already going to be the lookup. Now, created by data, date applied, okay. You want to do that. And then what do we want to include? What did we say we wanted to include? Well, stage, and there should be, there isn't one here, but there should be a lookup, and I'm not sure if it's a lookup, I think it's a related. Once you have the job and the in other words, job application, you should be able to drag the status, not only the stage, but also the stage date, the last date stage. Right? Remember, that's part of the job application entity is the stage, and then the stage change date.
Oh, that field doesn't exist. You mean we also have to have a date that the last stage change?
Yeah, think about it. If they've been interviewed and the interview happened a month ago, then that's information that would trigger a follow-up perhaps and say, hey, what's the status here on this, right? If, for example, he was hired, you want to know when he was hired so that you can follow up 6 months later, right, for whatever. But you want to know the date that he applied, you want to know, well, let's see, and I'm going to move this over, right? The date they applied, which is part of the job application entity. Then you want to know current stage, and then you want to know the date of that change in stage, right? So he applied, let's say June 28th. He got a phone interview on when, and you want to have that, and then he got an offer, and that was when. Now again, that already exists in the job application object. So all you got to do is just drag it in here, but we don't have a lookup field on this that will allow us to do that.
What already exists?
Well, okay, let me just go back.
Not the last time they changed the stage.
Well, okay. Here's okay. I think what I'm assuming is that you did drag all the fields over from the old legacy stuff, but maybe I'm assuming not, right? So stage is, we don't have stage, and what a date. Yeah, so I don't think that field exists here. So you have to add it. Remember, because that was go back to the job. Oh no, this is account. I'm sorry, this is account. We're in the wrong entity. Sorry.
So John, we're not adding the stage and the date of the stage change to the account. Just want to make sure.
We are.
Okay.
We are, but first, Victor has to add that field to the job application entity.
Okay. All right.
right? Because and then hopefully, and I don't know quite, I don't really know how this works, but you want to essentially when you show that view, that related list in accounts for the applications, then you want to show the related information to that comes with that application, right? Not only the job title and the candidate name, but also all of the stage information.
So with the account, I'll just have to wait until Vic creates the field, and when it shows up in the field explorer, I can just bring it over. Is that the way you want me to do it?
I think so.
Just drag and drop it.
Or John, do you just want to, again, this is nickel and dime stuff, John. Do you want to just do it now and we'll watch it? It take 3 minutes.
Sure. I mean,
otherwise we have to coordinate amongst each other, and that
right.
It confuse our.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. That's a good idea. Let's do that.
I'm always a fan of doing things where the action is much faster than talking about doing the action.
Yeah. I think we've gotten to that stage here. So yeah. So you see the unused fields. There's nothing there about stage change date, right? So go ahead and create that field, or do you want me to? Well, here we just do that. Let's just do that real quick.
Yeah.
So okay, stage change date, and that's just for right now. Okay, it's searchable, optional. Yeah, we won't make it. Okay, date of
last. Yeah.
Stage change.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so now we want to say, I mean, basically it's a date.
By the way, since we all poke around, John, I do think it'd be nice in the description if you put JR. If we put our initials, we know who the person was that created it. I think it helps when we're working as a team.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good idea. In here, I mean.
Yeah. Exactly. Then that way, when we're looking at stuff, it's like, did I make that? Did they make? Where did it go? Did I?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally, I think, I mean, because this is your entity, right? We would assume any changes were in fact made by you, but yeah, I'm doing this with presumably. Okay. So it doesn't appear here yet. So what I found is you have to sort of save and close, and then you've got to reopen it for the thing to show up. All right. So here we go. Stage change date. We'll put it under here. Now I would definitely for here. I would definitely format this thing so that we're not, don't have a separate thing on each line. There's plenty of room. So you might want to fiddle with that a little bit. So now that the name is unused, I don't know why, because the name should be the job.
Because John Kassar said never use those primary keys that the program puts in.
Well, okay, but see, this is what's confusing, because this job application record needs a name, and so it's already given to you. So I don't really understand that. Instead, what we've done, essentially, the job title is the name. So you could just, anyway, that's all right. I won't mess with it. But I think I'm a big fan of clean installations, and if we got this here, we don't know what it is, then it just creates confusion. Okay. So I'm going to say save and then publish. So it should, Sarita, now you should be able to drag not only the stage, but the change date. And in your list, you can, because stage is going to be the immediately preceding column, you don't need to say, well, I guess you could, yeah, but you don't need to repeat the stage. You can just change the label of the column to like say change date or last change or something like that. I mean, I'll leave it to you.
Okay.
Okay. So now, right? So this is so an application. It's a junction. I think of it as a junction object with two lookups. Now you got to look up to the job title and you look up to the veteran. Now this is a lookup field, right? Yeah, contacts lookup view. Okay. Contacts job application. Yeah. Company name. Okay. I think we're good. All right. So a little bit formatting cleanup here, I think would be good. And then save and publish. I'll get rid of that. Okay. All right. Shall we move into contacts? Are we pretty much, we've covered some pretty good ground, I think. So contacts is here, and I don't know. Okay, I want to go to this view and see if we imported the no, they're not imported yet. I don't know what's going on. Can it take that long? Maybe it does. That's okay. So we can kind of play with some of this stuff.
Can you tell, John, can you tell if it's working? Like, how can you tell it's still importing or not?
There's a place in here where you can check on the status. I just don't know where that is.
Oh, it would make sense. Okay. Or does it like give you a pop-up when it's all done importing or anything?
Well, I've got it programmed so it'll squirt apple cider in my ear.
Nice. There's probably a market for that, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the straight answer is I don't know, but I just keep checking.
Fair enough.
Hey, John, John Kassar here. I jumped on.
Hey, John Kassar.
Sorry I'm late, but I had another call, but I'm just seeing how I can be of assistance. So continue on. I just want to let you know I was here.
Okay. Hey, thanks. No, great to have you on. I think we have some questions for you, and we've already kind of gone around some of them, but we're just really just getting into the contacts part. And by the way, the question was just asked. Maybe you can answer this, but we successfully loaded accounts, right? So if we go to the accounts view, you'll see all the accounts that Dan gave us, right? They're all in here. Now what we're waiting for is for the contacts to upload. And, I started that upload about an hour and a half ago, and there's nothing in there yet. I mean, is that pretty typical? 800 contacts?
Well, I guess the question is, did the upload fail or not? That'd be the first question I'd ask.
Well, tell me again how you find out where the status is on this.
You have to go to the advanced area. So hit the gear, advanced settings, and it's somewhere in here. I normally just go to it right away. Once you try to import it, it asks you, it says you can check out the status right here, and then I just click there. So click on settings.
Okay. On settings up here again?
No. Why don't I tell you what? Why don't you continue? Yeah. Why don't you continue? Yeah. Go to data management.
Okay. Yeah.
I believe it should be there.
Imports.
View the status of your imports.
Here we go. Okay. Yeah. Look at this. All right.
Failed.
Okay. Completed. Failed. All right.
So let's continue on with the configurations a little bit and just figure out what happened there, and then we can deal with this another time. I don't want to distract your process where you were, and I got to step away from the desk for just a moment too as well.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we can figure out what's going on. So now, anyway, we now know how to check failures. Aha. Well. Import. Okay, doesn't say there's any failures. No data. partial failure, related. Okay, so full name, business phone. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, because these, remember that we didn't map those. Okay, well, I guess we can look at this later, but okay, so it failed. Let's go back then to the contacts, and I do have some things to, let's go to Joe Dokes. All right, so it looks like, for one thing, I can't toggle between the contact and the candidate, right? Remember we talked, now that you got the timeline, that's good. I've got the timeline here, but remember we talked about creating 3 forms. One for the contact, right? In other words, anybody other than a veteran candidate. Then the second would be a candidate. And then the third would be sort of like a combination, which is what according to what I think Julie was headed in, right? Just simply to create 3 forms. But I don't see how, there's no way to toggle between the forms here. Now,
Okay. I can answer that.
Yeah, and we also want, this is good that we have this, and I think we also want to clean this up. This is not, employer point of contact is, you want to say maybe, just contact other, or, you know what I mean? Because we have 2 types. You have candidate, and I just get rid of veteran. I just say candidate and contact. Right. Again, you just want to, it's too wordy here for what we're trying to do. You want the labels to be really clean. So, Robert, go ahead. I think you were going to say something.
Yeah. So, the veteran candidate form exists. It's just not activated or incorporated here. I thought Dan was the only one going to be using this, so I've been creating them, just not implementing them. So
yeah, remember what we said is that we want to demonstrate functionality when we trot this thing out. And, we don't want to be hiding what we did. So, yeah, granted that Dan is going to be seeing this, but I think we want to demonstrate, for example, where applications and job postings work together with job sites too, by the way, training sites. And by the way, can somebody please add training sites to this? I forgot how to do that. But if you can go into the site, I guess site manager, and update this so that it includes training sites also. If you could do that, that would be great.
Where do you want it, John? I'll do it right away. Where do you want it? Under veteran?
Just right, like down here somewhere, training sites.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And then this here, I would just clean this up, Robert. I would say, for example, I would put contact information. So really, the summary is I would put key contact info in the summary, and then I would put like address info. I wouldn't say contact information because you want to have the phone, you want to have the email and the phone in the summary because you're going to be using those a lot. You don't want to have to tab back and forth. So what you want to put in the next tab is the full address, for example, which you're really not going to need to consult, but you put like the full address here and then maybe the notes as well, right? You want to, right, remember we had the notes section, the description. I would put that here too. So for example, I'll give you a use case or why, you want to kind of focus on what to put in here. And this could be two columns, right? The timeline doesn't have to be this wide. It could basically be a 3-column tab, and then with two columns devoted to this, so that you don't have to scroll down for anything. The other problem with this is that you have to scroll, and you shouldn't have to scroll. You should just it'll be much easier basically that's what tabs allow you to do, is you just click on a tab, and the address tab, for example, address detail or something like that, you can call it. But you definitely want to have the email and the phone on this summary, because you may want to just simply call this person, and you want to know that, okay, there's a phone here or there's an email. You can just click on the email and send it. And obviously when you send an email, it'll automatically get added to the timeline, right? So you have everything right there in front of you. You got, it's laid out. 95% of what you want related to this contact is right in front of you. If you need an address, it's probably going to be pretty rare. You'll click on the next tab here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm tracking. For the notes,
All right.
is that going to be on this tab, the main tab, or do you want the notes beside the address in the separate tab, or do you want notes on its own separate tab?
Let me go back to the, well, here, hang on a second. Okay, trying to find, okay, job order. Okay, we got you. All right, I'm going to go back to the original, right? And I know I'm you know, kind of hammering this home, but I do. This is what we showed Dan, and I would really like to. Man, let's just go to one that I don't know what this is, but you'll see that. Okay, so this is laid out in 3, right? You've got timeline, you've got first name, last name, first line, job title, company name. All right, let's look one up. Let's now, okay, let's say, all right, so we just looked up a company name. You got email, you got phone, the 2 different phones for them. Are they a hiring portal user? Are they the primary contact for this employer? And you know, are they a veteran? And what would be the service branch of that veteran? The reason I have it here is because it's a really quick reference. If you talk to this person, if they're a veteran, then there's a certain level of communication you can have instantly based on that, right? Because you got their job title. Let's say veteran recruiter. All right, you got all this stuff right here. Now I've got address here. I mean, this is like all stuff that you're really not going to refer to, but you should probably have access to it. Now, one of the things that I have here is, yes, you do have to scroll down a bit for notes, but I do have notes here. And the reason I have notes is you want to have everything really handy. When you talk to that person, you want to have like, okay, cat lover who likes to vacation in whatever you want to put there. But Dan wants notes in this, and well, and I would urge him to have it even if he didn't have it. But you know, if you just click on veteran, and maybe, you know, okay, he's an Air Force veteran and he likes cats, right? You want to know these. You want to have this at your fingertips whenever you look at this. Now, obviously, you can go to Veterans to Work, where you're going to see completely, you know, going to have all the contacts and the job orders. I really would encourage you to refer back to this. If you have any questions, if you're in doubt, please go back to this one, because as I mentioned yesterday, this is what Dan is familiar with. This is what he has signed off on. This is what he likes and what he knows. Okay, we can change it from there if we want to, but again, I really don't want to be changing the look and feel very much of anything. Okay?
Yeah, okay, gotcha. That's easy peasy. Can you go back to the contact form? Because I thought I added the veteran field on the form, but I'm not seeing it in the form designer on my end. No, on the yeah, in the current solution.
Right, okay, yeah. So contact, Joe Dokes related. Yeah, it doesn't look like.
Okay, I added it last night. I don't know why it's not showing up there.
That's all right. You know, that's easy enough to add. But does that make sense to everybody? That why you want to have those fields on you know, on the summary tab? All right. I'm assuming the answer is yes.
Yeah, I'm tracking.
Okay, all right. So once that, so for whatever reason, that upload did not work, and maybe Victor, you may have some questions too about the job opportunities and whatnot. But while we have John on the phone, John Kassar, it'd be great to try to troubleshoot this data, because that's a huge part of any implementation. You're going to have data import challenges. And
Right. So before we touch upon that, a couple of things, Robert, on this screen here. One of the things that I like to do is the header stuff is important where you have the owner and contact type, but I sometimes find that people don't always look at the header because they're looking at like the data where you have it first name, last name, job employer. I would also duplicate the contact type field in that first card in that first quadrant there. Okay, so I'm just
that's a good idea. And
yeah,
and in fact, it was in, if you notice, it was in the last iteration. It did have contact type in that.
Oh, it did. Okay, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would do is the summary tab is currently set up as 2 columns, whereas 1 column is real small. I would set up as 2 columns, and I think you said that, John, but I just want to confirm so that this way the whole timeline thing gets shrunk and is not taking up so much of the page. And as John said, you don't have to scroll a lot.
Yeah, we did talk about that. That's exactly what we, I think, resolved to do.
Okay.
So
well,
yeah,
great.
good.
And in regards to the import, I'm a little rusty on the import, so I'll need to probably do a few things offline rather than spend the time right now. Plus, I don't have a whole lot of time right now, so I just thought I'd jump on if Sever was still on. So I may have to take that one offline and just make sure that before wasting time, before just poking around, just actually have it down for you so that you guys can learn as opposed to just poking around myself, because I don't do it that often.
So John, just briefly, I tell you what we did do and how we did it, just 30 seconds here. I did import accounts with no problem, right? So
and is there a reason why the main phone number, the city, is there a website address for these companies? Is that, I mean, I understand the primary contact, but
nope. Here's basically, I created a view that that maps to the fields that Dan gave me, and the only thing we have, honestly, is really account name, and right. So this is the wait, no. What am I saying here? Import accounts. Okay, yeah, import accounts. So yeah, this is what I created, and then I exported, and then I used the template that produced to add all the information. And I did the same thing.
With the raw data from Dan, does it have any contact names? Does it have any phone numbers or website addresses for, like the main phone number for 10 magnitude? That's what I'm curious about.
No. In terms of account, the only fields that relate are an account name and MSSA employer. That's it.
That's the only thing he gave you in the data?
Well,
I haven't looked at what he gave you. That's why.
Right. As relates to accounts. Now, as relates to contacts, this is what he gave me, right? So we've got, these are the fields, right? So yes, I do have, so I uploaded accounts first so that the lookup field, in the employer lookup field in the contact record would have something to look up to.
Yeah.
Right. And it turned out I had to do that. I mean, I tried it the first way, and no, it did, so we already covered that. But yeah, these are the fields that are contact record fields here. And so that's what failed.
Okay. So a couple things. I want to take a look at, if you could send me the raw data that Dan wanted you to import, that'd be great. Because again, I don't want to do it with the team in terms of hunting and pecking to make sure it gets done. Secondly, and this is good for the team, we are importing this into the sandbox which means this will not be imported into the production. We will actually have to do a separate import. We'll have to do the import again into the production. So I just want everyone to be very clear about that too.
Okay. I didn't realize. I thought maybe when you moved you're really just moving the solution, not the data.
That is correct. So this is good practice to say, okay, how are we going to import this in? But you never import in all the content, the data. It's all around the solution.
Okay. All right. So John, this is what I'm going to send you. It's already got. I mean, well, basically, just really quickly explain. This is what I exported, right, from the view that has all the fields that we want to import. So I exported this and said, okay, it exported. So if we use the same template that Dynamics uses, then we should be fine. And obviously the middle name and business phone were not imported because there's no data in Dan's list in either one of these. But for some reason, I just left them there. I said, leave them unmapped. Anyway, full name, middle name, business phone, not used. So
Okay.
Here's the data. And so, yeah, I'll send this to you right now. That's what you'll get.
Okay.
And yeah, thanks for taking a look. I guess that's kind of a relief that we don't need to have the data. Well, it'd be nice to import it and to have that, figure out how that works, because we're going to show it to Dan on Monday. He's obviously not available today, but I'll shoot that over to you right away.
Okay.
So let's see, anybody else have any questions for John before he has to leave?
I have one. The LinkedIn Navigator item, so it's showing up on the forms, but it's not showing up in the app. I mean, it's visible. I'm just not sure what's going on with that.
Yeah, there is some other security related stuff to enable the LinkedIn forms, and I don't remember what it is. I basically installed that, but there is some additional stuff that needs to be done to actually get it to show.
Okay.
So
Cool.
and you could probably do a search on some documentation how to install it. It's probably on the LinkedIn site. Actually, let me see. I think I actually downloaded it, and I'm trying to see here if this is it. LinkedIn stuff. Is this what I called it? Oh yeah, now still there. More information. Install LinkedIn. Add Sales Navigator controls to the forms. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to email this document out to people, and then you could go from there. Let's see here.
And let's be clear. This is Robert. Are you on this? Is this something? Because it really relates to contact.
Yeah, I think it's showing up on all the forms for now. It's a separate solution right? So it's like I saw it, I didn't want to mess with it or anything. I just trying to understand it. So that's kind of where I'm at in tackling this, so to speak. But if it's something we want to show up on all three types of contacts, yeah, I can look into seeing how to make that happen. Right now, it's like if you go to edit the form, you'll see it there as a separate tab. But for now, it's not showing up anywhere.
Okay. Well, I just sent you the documentation on that.
Okay, cool.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Okay, I received it, so I have it. Thank you, John.
Yeah, no problem. And so the LinkedIn, let me just be very clear. There is several areas of the LinkedIn integration. There is LinkedIn for an account record, like an employer. And then there's a tab that you could create for LinkedIn for the contact record. So just so you know, there should be actually two in there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Good to know. Okay. Let's see. I'm just kind of reviewing these. We've talked about, so Robert, you're going to basically make sure that we can view each of 3 different forms for contacts, right?
Yeah, I can do that. I have the
Okay.
employer contact form we're going to work on today. The candidate contact form. If you want to look at that and see what's included in it, I
Well,
referred to the original solution, so I'm trying to tailor it to that as much as possible.
yeah,
And
just
then
follow what Dan has already approved. Which was
so
the
that
original.
yeah, the third contact type, candidate / company contacts. That I might need some further guidance on. Just like, is that just going to be a mix of information from both forms?
Yes, it's basically going to include everything about any contact type that we're going to be showing, except it's going to be arrayed sort of like a cascade according to the user. So, or let's put it this way: lowest common denominator, right? So the common form, let's call it the common form, is going to be arrayed so that the information that is common to any contact type would be shown in the first tab, right? Name, phone number, email, veteran status perhaps. And then the second tab would include, maybe detail address. The third tab would be military. The fourth would be MSSA. The fifth would be, applications, right? And obviously all but only, all of the ones except for the first and second would apply to the, I'm sorry, I'm saying this.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I'm tracking.
Dan's going to see number 1 and 2. Carol's going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tabs.
And that's okay, and that's going to be based on their user account permissions, not something we change on the form, right?
Well, right.
Like,
And again, this is Julie's conceptions, right? So we simply want to sort of give 2 options.
yeah, no
Dan,
worries, and I'm
yeah.
understanding that a bit more. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, because
Yeah.
before it was like, how do we kind of restrict the viewing of certain information? I found out how to implement it from a multi-form standpoint, but with the LinkedIn Navigator thing we just touched on, how that's showing as a tab, but no one's saying it. If I could figure out why that's happening, I could probably apply it to the forms we're creating. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's my hope anyway.
that'll be pretty simple. You just want to, I mean, that's just another tab, which is great. And remember that we talked about the resume as being on its own tab because there's so much content, right? So yeah, just like I say, refer back to the original and just recreate that, right? So one of each and then one that combines all. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna do the one that combines everything first and see if we can get that to work. And I'll have the other 2 in existence, so we can kind of like activate them or deactivate them if need be.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. Any other stuff? I know, Victor, we sort of neglected you a little bit, but in all this conversation, are you kind of picking up on what you need to do, and do you have all the tools you need?
I didn't. I think the main thing was changing the job posting lookup. I removed the word lookup. It just said job posting. I could change it to just posting. If you refresh, and maybe you've seen it by now, you've got the new data scheme with the training option under veterans. And I didn't really have any other notes than that. I had to step away. I don't know if you mentioned anything the last few minutes, but I thought I didn't think we had too many more things. But most of the stuff, I think, John, that you might have thought was mine, I believe is going to fall under the accounts section for Sarita.
Yeah.
Let me know if there's anything else. I didn't have anything else written down.
Yeah. Okay. So we got the job, the veteran. We want to have on this, we want to add definitely employer, right? It's consultant, but who's it with, right? So you want to have the job posting, you want to have the employer. Candidate, I would change this to candidate. Date applied, stage, right? Stage change. Let's say.
Which form are you in? Or which section are you in?
Job applications.
Okay, yeah, clean that up. Okay.
Yeah, just as we talked about before, and then well, Sarita can just take what you've already done here and get rid of the employer. If it's in the account section, then obviously get rid of the employer column because it's redundant. But otherwise, I think that's probably something you could just wholesale pull in. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, like, let's say on Sunday, I'm going to just sort of like go through it and sort of clean up stuff that needs to be cleaned up so that it's nice and buttoned up for Dan on Monday. So let me know if you're still working on it. But that's when I will reserve for kind of a final review, if you will, on my side. All right. So just let me know if you want me to hold off on anything. But otherwise, I'll assume that you'll pretty much complete your assignments well before Sunday. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes, I'll have mine completed before Sunday. And I'll
Okay.
post my progress on the Salesforce chatter.
Great. I love that you're doing that, Sarita. I mean, that's that it would be nice if all of us kind of had that sort of completeness, and for the sake of those that come after us. But I think we're learning, and thanks for doing that. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, John, I have a couple of questions. Well, just one, I guess. So when we pick in the job applications, when you pick an employer, or if you pick a job title, the other one isn't filtering now, so you could really pick a wrong combination. Are you concerned about that at this time?
Pick a long combination.
Wrong, WR, a wrong you could pick the wrong job associated with a different employer because they're not, those lookups are just broad across the entire
No. Okay, yeah. So I think I know what you're saying. What makes a job application or even a job order unique is not just the name, the title of the job, but the employer itself, right? So by necessity, if you're going to have lots of postings for, let's say, consultant, but it's not unique until it's associated with a particular employer.
Yeah, right. But now you could pick, let's say that you have one, job one at employer one. When you pick it, you could really pick employer one and job two.
Sure.
Which is only for employer two.
Right,
not for
right.
Employer one. So do you care right now that you could pick a job that doesn't exist at the company that you already chose?
Well, by definition, you can't pick a job that doesn't exist. Is that, did I get that right?
You can pick a job that exists, but it might not exist at that employer. So they're both global lookups.
Well, if it doesn't exist at that employer, then you'd have to create one for that employer, right? I mean,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're following the question. Like, you'd have to have.
I think. Hold on. I think I can answer.
John Cassar. Yeah, thanks.
Well, John Cassar bailed. This is Robert. I think I can answer if I understand you, you're saying that for an account, you can just add an existing job posting to any account, regardless of who the job posting is for?
Yes, exactly. You can.
Okay. I do think there is a way to prevent that involving the lookup and views. I'm not sure if that's something we'll need to do right now.
Well, right, so you go to accounts and first you look to see if the existing job is already posted. No, it's not. So you just add a new posting and you just declare, right, whatever the job title is. And then, 2 openings and open, date posted, right? So yeah, and then okay, good. I see that you changed it to a lookup here. That's great. And then of course you can go to 10th magnitude. Oh, okay, we got to save it, I guess.
Okay, I thought it was in some of them you can do add existing, right? Like where it gave you the option to create a new posting from the account tab or account screen. Some of them it'll say add existing, and it'll let you look up a list of the existing job postings and then just connect them to an employer. But it looks like that isn't the case. Click the ellipsis beside refresh. Yeah, so okay, so I guess that isn't the case. So that's already taken care of either by Victor or by itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, the job, your existing job, well, I mean, where it's going to come into play is if you go to job applications and you do new, right? You have to look up, you got to look up an account and you have to look up a job. Now, what isn't here, what's interesting is it's not filtered by company. It doesn't look like. You see what I'm saying? So it's sort of like.
Well, I think that's my question. Robert?
Okay.
That's my question. I'm not looking at I'm in the car. I had to drive my wife to work, guys. So I'm not looking at the form, but I think the problem is you can't put the filter on it immediately because they hadn't already picked the employer, and they might not pick the employer first. They might pick the job first.
Yeah. I see.
If you pick the job, then you have to filter the employer. If you pick the employer, then you have to filter job. So it requires a little bit of code or business logic to really make sure that you don't pick a job that doesn't exist at that employer or an employer that doesn't exist for that job.
Yeah. Now I get what you're saying, because the drop down list you get for job orders is independent of its relationship to the employer.
Right, and vice versa.
It looks like it anyway. So if I just pick consultant 2 here, yeah, this is okay. Yeah, I think probably to create an application, you need to start from the employer, from the parent of that job order. In other words, perhaps, or maybe right? I mean, it's Accenture, and it's that. But yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so I'm going to click on Accenture, and then we'll see that. Oh, okay. Oh no, job application. Okay, well, it turns out now if I click on, this is interesting. All right, if I click on consultant, okay, that actually happened here. I clicked on consultant 2, and consultant 2 is actually a job posting by Sample Co, not Accenture.
Good, the light's on. Yeah, okay. That's
so what we may need to do.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Well, here's what may need to happen is that you need to include in the job posting, you may need to include some code. That would be really clunky. I wouldn't want to have to do that. But what you can do is you can, there's probably a routine you can write. Maybe Victor, if you've got time, you can do this, is to say that the job position has to be constrained by its related employer. Once you define the employer, you're only going to show the job postings that are related to that employer. as options for lookup.
I get, that's.
Well, do some research, figure it out. I mean, if you don't figure it out, that's fine, but you won't die trying.
No, well, I don't know if I'll get to it by. All of the work that I was supposed to do this week got delayed till this weekend. So
yeah, no problem. It's just
I don't know how much time I have to put into it before Monday, but certainly I would love to try the business logic on it, because I know how it. I would love to try the business logic on it. I just don't know if I'm going to get to it by Monday.
Understood. Yeah. No, we're just, we like I say, we're already well past what was required, and I'm pleased by that. So all of this stuff is just really more for the learning experience.
Yeah, I have a quick question. This should be pretty straightforward. Shouldn't be as complex as this. But there's an MSSA tab. Is that a tab that should be on like the training site for training sites, or is that on accounts, or is that on contacts? Because right now I have it on contacts, and then which kind of contact?
Yeah. So MSSA, again, I'm going to take us back to, let me just take us back to the original and just kind of use that to sort of explain what I have in mind here. Yeah. So we have, so we got now, I'm going to change this to the candidate form on this old one. Okay. So MSSA really is everything having to do, I mean, the logic here is, you got the summary, which has the fields that we talked about. And in the case of the candidate, you've got their service status, discharge date, it's all right there. But, pardon me, career was more like, and I realized that, yes, the resume is on this one. It probably ought to have its own tab. But MSSA really just refers to, again, you've got, it's all the MSSA specific stuff to that veteran. So you've got a learning path, you've got enrollment stage, MSSA, well, touch point I don't think is a part of this, cohort ID, training site, sponsor, just there's enough information to merit its own thing, right? In summary, you've got, again, all the high level stuff that you're going to be concerned with 90% of the time. But you're also obviously going to want to have some military and career stuff aside from MSSA, and then job referrals are really the applications. Does that make sense? Right. So
yeah, no, that's how I have it set up on the candidate contact form. I have a separate MSSA tab. I have a few extra fields though. They were in the form that was released by John Kassar. I mean, it's ages between 18 to 24, using final military relocation package. Like weird fields, they can be, I don't know. They're not here, but they were on that document, so I added them to the form. They can be removed pretty easily.
I noticed that, and that's fine. If they were included in the original SOW and on any form, that would be great. So yeah, I think those are fine. Okay. I want to present something clean to Dan, really clean, and that means just be thinking about, again, the user perspective. Be thinking about as if you're a user coming into it for the first time. Is it layout?
Yeah,
another thing, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
So John, should we have each person remove the related navigation from our forms that we know we're not using, or would you want to do that on Sunday after we're done? So you know how that relates? You know how there's always the related drop down as part of your tabs on each form?
Oh yeah. Don't worry about that. Just leave that there. We can deal with that in. Let's ask John Kassar about that. Yeah, just leave the related stuff. That's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, I and the only reason is because I don't know what's going to happen if we get rid of it. It may, yeah. But
Well, it just doesn't show up on the relay. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything in the background. It just doesn't show up as something as a messy choice leaving questions for the users where they might say, well, how come job applications is under my related tab, but job applications is also a tab that exists. I mean, I think I removed my job applications and job postings, but there might be duplicate ones or redundant ones.
oh yeah. Well, let's just I don't know what exactly how this thing works. Let's not worry about it right now. Hey, I got to go watch the U.S. and France, man. It's a quarterfinals.
Hey, yes. Yeah, I
I don't know about you guys, but I got a life, man. Huh?
That's nice.
Since they said they don't give a shit about going to the White House, I don't care about watching them. Did you hear about that?
Okay.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Trump invited them to the White House. They said F the White House, and I'm a military guy.
That was one player. That was one player. I mean,
And then her friend. No, there was two. Her friend said, "I'm with you."
Okay.
So it was two.
Well, that still leaves
Celebrities
still
in
leaves
politics,
9 on the first team who might go. So.
So, kind of reeling this back in, for Sunday for you, John, what I can deliver as far as contacts go, what I'm confident I can deliver is how we have it set up in the Legacy app, where candidate contact, like a veteran candidate, it's a separate form. An employer contact is a separate form. That, based on my knowledge now, no real issues. Setting it up so there's one form with all of the information that's displayed based on if it's based on selection on the form or if it's based on username, then that may take longer than Sunday. I can let you know either way, like as I'm working though.
Okay, sorry. I was just I was distracted. You said the forms you've got. I had
I thought that was Victor. No, what I can deliver by Sunday, how we have it in the Legacy app, right? There's a candidate form, like we're looking at this candidate form here, and then you also have an employer contact form. I can do that. Now, the third form, I'll work on it this weekend. No guarantees it'll be eligible by Sunday for you to review, but I'll work on it. And I mean, the important thing is getting it operating like the Legacy app, because that's what Dan's familiar with, and he'll be comfortable if he sees that, right?
Yeah. And I think that would be good. And so, just fiddle around with that. And I think that's where I was going with when I created the contact form, the candidate form or contact form in this app, right? In the sandbox. That was in fact what I was attempting to do. So that's the beginnings of it. I've got just the the facts, ma'am, in the first thing. And then I kind of arrayed it, something like this, I think, what you're seeing. So take a look, and by all means, let's have, I think that's a good plan. We'll focus just on the candidate and the contact forms. And then if we can find a way to consolidate the two into one to accommodate that approach to permissions, then great.
Okay, awesome. Yep, same page.
Right.
Cool. I'll let you
guys.
go take care of that game, and I'll keep you in the loop on my progress, as well, just like Sarita's going to do.
Okay. All right. Hey, thanks, guys. Yeah. Be well, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Adios.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye, guys.